I signed a pro contract when I was 19. I thought it was all up from there, and then I realized that that was only the start of the battle.
They said, you know, you're going to play in the NHL. It might take you 10 years, but you're going to have to fight every step of the way. And I said, you know what, I'll do it.
It elevated to the point where it was just like, oh my God, like I was in the Rocky movie.
This is a super heavyweight bout.
The idea of fighting in hockey really splits people. You have these sort of two main camps, and the first one might be rough old school hockey, all about a notion of respect and honor, and the other side says, actually, we don't need this anymore.
It all seems wildly entertaining until something like this happens.
That's the latest creation from international award-winning filmmaker Adam Scorgie, and of course his director Brett Harvey. It's called Ice Guardians. I could go on and on about what I like about it, but what drew you into the role of the enforcer, and more importantly, the people who take up that role, because that's what this documentary is all about.
Yeah, great question. Well, I went to school with Scott Parker and Todd Fedoruk, right, and really saw how they climbed the ranks when they were playing the WHL for the Kelowna Rockets, and saw that, you know, off the ice, they weren't these savages or dummies that people thought they were, that you know, so often the enforcers painted with that brush, right? So it was really that story, and then director Brett Harvey and I looked at, like, well, what else has been done? And there really hadn't been anything that went from the player's perspective, and like, what was it like to take on this role to make your NHL dreams come true? So we dove in, and then Ice Guardians was born.
When did you dive in? How long of a project has this been? And what was it like trying to get any kind of approval from the NHL? Because I know how they've been dealing with the whole issue.
Yeah, it was very tough. It's been 8 years from concept to delivery. It pains me to even say that, but I mean, it seems the timing's worked out perfect because, you know, over the long period, we built great relationships. I mean, I've become close personal friends with Eric Goddard, Riley Cote, Kevin Westgarth, Brian McGrattan. They're all coming to the world premiere September 12th. So it's always tough dealing with a big sports organization and trying to get your project out there. But, you know, over those years, we learned how to be able to navigate that and how to be able to get access to footage and be able to finally bring this project to life.
As Adam was saying, the world premiere doesn't go until September the 12th, but here's more of Ice Guardians.
I had no idea what I was doing. I just sort of grabbed and I started throwing punches, and I was just watching my fists. And it's like in slow motion, and I'm doing pretty well here. As soon as I did that, that changed everything.
It's got to sound so odd to be so civil when you're being so violent.
They call it the code. Everybody knows what it is, but nobody knows what it is.
If you're going to take a cheap shot at me or a teammate, if you have one fight in your career or 100 fights in your career, I'm going to come at you.
Is everything perfect in the enforcement category in the NHL? No. But there's nothing perfect in life.
You know, we talk about goal scorers, and, you know, we'll interview somebody and they'll describe a, you know, game-winning goal or whatever. What was it about these guys in terms of undressing the whole facade of being an enforcer and just diving into it and getting them to open up?
That's, you know, something that was really surprising for Brett and I that we discover when you go in is how these guys are viewed by their peers in the dressing room, right? And that's why in the film you'll see we have clips of Brett Hall, Jerome McGinley, Chris Chelios. We wanted a superstar's perspective of what it was like to play with these guys, because you so often hear, you know, people say these guys don't belong in the game and they're everything that's wrong with it. But it was really fascinating to hear from some of the greatest players to ever play that they don't feel that way. Brett Hall says in the film, I would not have been able to have been as successful as I was without guys like Kelly Chase and Tony Twist having my back. I can tell you that right now. So for us, that was fascinating to be like, wow, Brett Hall, one of the greatest scorers of all time, is saying that he wouldn't have been that successful without guys like that. And really understanding that camaraderie. Why is it that it seems that when you go in the dressing room, people migrate to the team enforcer? Like they don't just want them to fight. What we discovered is that a lot of times they bring a guy like Kevin Westgarth or something in because they want that dynamic of here's a guy that'll do whatever it takes to help his team win. And for championship teams, you need that.
As a filmmaker, how difficult was it to allow you to tell their story, but also to keep the balance in the fact that there is a debate in the world of hockey,
Absolutely.
Whether or not fighting is a part of the game, is it actually part of the sport? Walking that fine line and balancing it.
I think director Brett Harvey nailed it in this, where he really, I mean, we go into all the stuff, right? You know, we talk about the deaths and we go into all that. You can't do a documentary and not talk about, you know, both sides of the argument. But really, what Brett did so well and the team did so well was just really focusing on these guys' story and letting them talk more instead of us pushing a narrative, right? Which is what's been done on most things done before. they're the guys taking the risk, and they're the guys going out there doing this. So let's let them tell it, because I'm just a fan. How I shouldn't be picking one way or the other where this goes, because I'm not the one on the ice taking the risk.
What was the message, or at the end of the documentary, what do you want people to take away with them telling their story? Changing their opinions on the job that they do, changing their opinions on fighting in the game? What?
The ultimate goal of Ice Guardians is just to honor the history and role of the NHL enforcer. Because whether you agree with fighting in hockey or not, the one thing that we can't deny is that it's a huge part of hockey's history. And these guys are the players that were that part of history. So their story needs to be honored, in my opinion, just like anybody else that played the game.
I'm always thrilled when I get an email from your PR people saying, here's your latest project. What was it like with this one, and what do you got coming down the pipe? What's next?
This one was, you know, super emotional, just because I've become friends with so many of these guys, Brett and I, the whole team, right? You know, we really care about this one as we do with everyone. But we got some great stuff coming down the pipe too. I've got Chasing Evil, The Life of Robbie Knievel, about Daredevil.
Love it.
Yeah, and then we just signed Danny Trejo to do a biopic on AKA Machete. So that's going to be going into production here. We start pre-production the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be busy but exciting next couple of years, that's for sure.
We enjoy having you in.
Hey, thank you so much.
Best of luck. The website is iceguardians.com. You can also follow them on Twitter at Ice Guardians. World broadcast goes October 8th on Super Channel. Hopefully we'll see it in theaters 2017.
Yeah, 2017.
You saw the sneak peek right here on Global. Sam?